Ms. Scanlon.
Mr. Elias, we've talked a lot about the politicization of the DOJ to serve the president's interests instead of the...
Your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just not close enough. You testified you believe the DOJ initiated certain investigations of the cannabis and California car industries because those industries were unpopular with Attorney General Barr and the president, and that you believe that this improper targeting undermines the public's perception of the DOJ as a fair administrator of justice. So this is essentially an allegation that instead of using the Justice Department to protect the rule of law and the American people, the Attorney General is using the DOJ to pursue the political whims of the president and expending public resources to retaliate against the president's enemies. Did you try to report those concerns to anyone, and if so, what happened?
So I reported those concerns to the Office of Special Counsel, the Office of the Inspector General, and to Congress. And there was a referral by the Office of Special Counsel to the department. They found the initial review of the facts to be concerning enough that they thought the agency should investigate. And I should clarify, as a technical matter, there's a second whistleblower here, and it was her complaint that came in just before mine that was referred. The department sent it to the Office of Professional Responsibility, which conducted a review, and it came back with a report that, to my knowledge, was first circulated last night that I have read, and that had a number of issues that I was questioned about by Mr. Collins, Representative Collins earlier. What's curious about that report is it says that even if the allegations are true, even if these investigations were motivated by animus and not by bona fide law enforcement reasons, then there's still no problem, that's not a violation of rules or regulations. And that's very concerning to me because it seems so self-evident that if your sole motivation is animosity, that's impermissible. If there is no rule or regulation, then there's sort of one missing because that's obviously wrong.
So essentially, the investigation that occurred didn't address your underlying complaint, which was that these investigations were politically motivated. It just found that no other laws were violated.
I think that's more or less correct, but it did say that even assuming they were politically motivated, that's not a problem, which is perplexing to me coming from the Office of Professional Responsibility.
So it's kind of like the argument that if a president has the power to pardon someone, it doesn't matter why he's pardoning someone, even if it's an improper use of that power.
I think that's a great analogy.
Thank you. Mr. Zelensky, you testified about another way that President Trump had weaponized the Department of Justice at the expense of Americans by using the Attorney General to help save his friends from punishment. You referred specifically to the case of Roger Stone, who was convicted on 7 counts of obstructing justice, making false statements to investigators, and tampering with witnesses. When you reported your concerns that the department was letting the president's political considerations interfere in the Stone sentencing, what were you told?
As I said in my statement, we reported our concerns on multiple occasions, but we were told that we could be fired if we didn't go along with it, and then we were told that this was not the hill to die on.
Okay. Our U.S. attorneys take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution and to prosecute without fear or favor. But we've been hearing testimony about attorneys like Mr. Zelensky and others resigning rather than violate those principles. And I think it's important that the American public know that this is not normal. Mr. Ayer, you've served in Democratic and Republican administrations. Have you ever seen this many career officials express alarm about the politicization of the department with no actions taken? Why is this such a problem?
I have not ever seen the number of letters that have been filed by, I think we're certainly in the thousands now of people protesting. I've never seen anything remotely like it in my entire life. And that's one of the reasons, that's one measure, it's only one. It's one of the reasons I say I think I've never in my lifetime been in as great a fear for the future of our rule of law as I am now, because it's happening across the board in a lot of areas, and people who know that system and are part of it realize how serious this problem is.
I mean, I think it's worth noting that where political corruption of the Department of Justice is coming from the top, from the president and the attorney general, that resignation is the only way that career attorneys can ring the alarm bells, and we have to listen to them. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
Great senators. Hi, Chuck. He used to love me when I was a Democrat, you know.